So part of the challenge of workers and resources is how to create a surplus, a profit. Obviously, there are a lot of ways to make easy free money. It's as simple as importing hazardous waste from there, the customs, and just feeding it straight into the incinerator, and then selling the ash straight back through where the hazardous waste came in, and that loop makes massive profit. Like, see if I was to do that right now, hazardous waste 1,000 rubles per ton, and if I was to get a really good roll of hazardous waste, I don't even know what the composition of the waste is here, but say that it was really high. So in hazardous waste mixes from customs, it's anywhere from like 10 to 40%. Say I got a 40% hazardous waste mix, that would be worth about 3,000 rubles per truckload. So that would be a massive amount of profit, and it would sort of trivialise the game, especially this early on with only about 1,500 people. So that kind of breaks the game and removes the challenge, and it makes what is otherwise a difficult game just really trivially easy. Another one is sewage. You can build a sewage drop-off point. I've got one here. I've built a sewage unloading station, and that goes into this outflow, and it gets dumped for free, makes a tiny little pollution area, and there's no other consequences. So that's what I'm doing with my sewage that I produce right now. I'm just getting all of my domestic sewage and putting it into the unloading station, and that's how I'm handling my sewage. Eventually I'll start treating it, but for now I'm just doing that. I'm not importing sewage, which would be worth about 50 or 100 rubles per ton of sewage water, and I could have a sewage outflow right here and connect up to the outflow, and then it would just be 50 rubles, 50 rubles, 50 rubles, 50 rubles, no labour, no real overhead. It's just setting up a pipe connection and that has no overhead. So that's another way to make easy free money. Another one would be mixed waste. So you can import mixed waste, and because it's mixed, it's extremely heavily discounted. This is another problem with hazardous waste. You can get, like, see the mixed waste that has some ash in it, you can even make money off of that most of the time because it has metal scrap, aluminium scrap, and those are really lucrative, so that offsets the ash component and the construction waste component. So if I was to import hazardous waste here, I would be getting paid to take it, I would be burning it with barely any labour, and then I would be able to export the ash that has aluminium waste mixed in, and that would give me money again, so I would get money twice for the same thing. So I've opted out of every single one of those things. I haven't done a single bit of hazardous waste importing. Let's have a look at my all-time. It's nice to see the steady creep up. Alright, so all of the resources I've ever produced, I've made 1.5 million rubles worth of wood. That's over 250,000 wood. I've made 1.4 million rubles in boards. Wow. So I've actually, let's have a look at this. Wood is worth 4 rubles per ton, boards are worth 5.3 rubles per ton. And I've not even had a lucky roll here with the value. Like, I'm seeing some in some random games. I'm gonna see if there's any outliers here. Like, bricks at 20 rubles per ton, more than prefab, is quite good. Steel is still only at 300 rubles per ton. Oil is only 14 rubles per ton. Plastic is worth quite a lot in this run. Fabric 400, I'm not sure about that. Like, there's going to be a baseline value of all of these materials, and I'm looking for outliers from that at the moment. Boards, it seems, have been depressed because of all the exporting that I've done. Cement is a bit more than bricks, that's quite normal as well. Yeah, so there's nothing that's standing out here. Also, aluminium at about 3 times steel is fine, that's typical. Yeah, there's nothing that's really standing out. But let's have a look at this. I've produced basically only wood and boards. That has been my entire economy in this game, and it's been going for 20 years. Let's have a look at consumption or exports. See, it's really just been wood. The coal has just been for the heating. Bitumen has just been for asphalt. Gravel has just been used in construction. I haven't refined it, and I mean, I haven't made any goods out of gravel like cement or prefab panels or anything. All I've got in terms of construction is a gravel complex of concrete and asphalt, and I'm making my own gravel with this. But something I have done is, whenever I produce boards, like one of the consequences of turning wood into boards is that there is a lot of biological waste. Well, not a lot, it's a modest amount of biological waste that gets produced. Let's have a look at it going up. 2.52. It's like every 0.05 mixed waste you get 0.01 bio-waste. So I'm producing bio-waste in non-trivial quantities. I've got about 14 workers in this sawmill, so it's about 70%, and it's working round the clock. And I've got now 21 of these open trailers convoying boards out non-stop, and they're not really getting to queue up. When I'm producing boards flat out, I'm able to basically keep 20 trucks running non-stop. So only thing I could do now is, if this is like, I've got 2 slots in this open storage, and I've basically saturated those 2 slots. We have trucks going in, loading up with boards and coming out non-stop. So using these trucks, I can't accelerate in and out any faster than I am right now. And I'm managing to keep this convoy of 21 trucks running round the clock. And we've got loads of boards getting exported. It's 70 rubles per load. That's the same as a ton of fuel, but I'm using up probably about 0.05 tons of fuel, 0.04 even, to do a loop. So the fuel costs are relatively negligible. Right, let's have a look at the total amount of exports. I've got 1.4 million rubles worth of board exports. My steel is about less than half that. This is the main expense in most games, and that's 3,000 tons of steel I've imported at 600,000 rubles. Fuel is going to be the next one. That's 500,000 rubles for 8,000 units, and I've still got 1.5 thousand stored in my fuel storage here, so I've got a reserve. That would be sold for 70,000. 100,000. I've got 100,000 worth of fuel stored in there. And yeah, that's only 500,000, so with just exporting boards, 1.4 million, that covers steel and fuel and has some left over. Electricity is only 50,000, so I've produced 30 times as much in boards as my entire city's used in power. Gravel stopped getting imported within a couple of years of game time. Let's look for more commodities. Alright, coal is 50,000, 5,000 units, only 50,000. Electrical components, only 66 units, 30,000. The mechanical components is going to be a big one because I've got a big vehicle fleet. 200,000 rubles, 500 units. So we are absolutely making a profit here doing this. We're able to cover fuel, steel, mechanical components, and I'm managing to maintain a repair percentage of 10%, which means that we only ever really need mechanical components to do our repairs. I'll see if I can catch a vehicle repair. I've got a lot of vehicles, so one should pop up. And with the bio waste that I'm producing with my lumber industry producing boards, that gets sent over to this dump, and that is the only fertilizer that I'm using for these fields. And I started out just having the cheapest, worst combine harvester, only 23 kilowatts, the cheapest, worst tractor, only 23 kilowatts, and then I scaled up and I've got 3 of each. And I'm producing crops without spending any money on fertilizer. All of these crops come from my board industry and the field just naturally being allowed to lie fallow and get fertility. I'm only sowing crops at above 149%, so I'm using about half of these 13 fields in any given year, and it's relying entirely on the bio waste from the lumber industry. And I've got trucks, I've just been adding trucks one at a time. I've got about 7 so far, and that mostly covers it. I think that does cover it, and they deposit into this grain storage, and then I've got 2 trucks that run the crops out to the border year round, and that is another small secondary industry. See, like 176 rubles per 10 tons, so that's 176 rubles per truckload, 70 rubles per ton for fuel, and this only uses about 0.02 or 0.03 fuel per loop. So the fuel costs here are negligible as well. Did I miss a repair? Alright, there's a repair. 0.083 mechanical components to repair this bus. So that's only about 1/10 of a mechanical component ton. So that's only about 50 rubles to repair this bus. And that's the cost of a repair citywide, about 50 rubles. And I don't have to do that many of them, it's fine. Like you saw the mechanical component overhead, it's only about 200,000. And I've got a system here. Well, I'm trying to avoid any fake profit from hazardous waste, sewage, aluminium scrap, exporting back out. I'm trying to just rely as hard as I can on boards. And with a population of 1,500, I'm managing to sustain with board exports just with 14 people working round the clock. I'm keeping this staffed really aggressively, and I've got, let's count how many lumber yards I've got, wood cutting posts. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is it 7 or 8? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So you only need to have 1 worker in a wood cutting post to cut the wood, and then these do the rest. And this is kind of making value out of nothing. It is a little bit cheaty, but it is complex enough that it doesn't feel like cheating to me. It's not cheating like hazardous waste bullshit. Something I'm thinking about doing is setting up a chemical industry and importing oil, because oil is another, that's one I was forgetting. Getting pump jacks to make oil feels a little bit bullshit, because it just uses a tiny amount of electricity and it makes about 100 or 1,000 times as much value as it consumes. Like, see if you can find a 1% location for a pump jack. I think that's still profitable in terms of electricity at about 0.06 megawatts, I think, is its power usage. So it feels like cheating. Pump jacks just feel like cheating, honestly. And then if you refine that into fuel, it just adds value and reduces volume, and it's, yeah, it just really does feel like cheating. Let's have a look for any fucking... Where's the oil on this map? Holy shit. Where is it all? I've still not found any... Oh wait, there's a tiny bit. Yeah, so 5% pump jack there, where the fuck was it? It's really strange, there's no oil around here on this map. But that's another way to just make money and basically cheese the game. It really does feel like cheesing the game. Because once you've learned the game... Yeah, it's like I'm trying to not use radio stations or orphanages or prisons. And I am not doing any Soviet propaganda. I'm only using monuments to maintain like a bare minimum of loyalty in my workers and try and keep them happy with this. I've got 84% happy. I don't have any medical research yet. That would be from this. But I've got an educated workforce relatively. And I am managing to... oh yeah, that's another thing. You really want to have... electricity problem? What the fuck? Something on fire. Oh, come on, hurry up, go faster. Fuck. No power across my entire fucking city in a minute. That's bad, that's a transformer. That is not in use, actually, that's fine. There we go, caught it in time. But that's gonna need repaired now. But yeah, that's a transformer. I don't have any... no wait, I do, I've got it feeding to this, so that supplies my farm. Yeah. Let's have a look at the amount of crop profit that I'm getting per year. So last year I made 32,000 by exporting 2,000 crops. In contrast, I had 90,000 from my board exports. This year it's been 86,000 and counting, so it's relatively consistent. 100,000 rubles is quite a lot. That's enough to get 400 tons of steel, which is enough to... well, let's take a look at upcoming projects. I've got a needs town here, like that. 100 tons of steel for a Republic Theatre. For now I've only got a cinema, a pool, a city stadium, and the expo hall is the most important one. See, if you get an expo hall that is a bus ride away, you can get attraction percentages of 400%, shit like that. Look, I'm getting 200% on this attraction demand. 242% is not bad. 300%. 200%. 250. 300%. I've seen 400% before, 250%. So we're getting some nice attraction percentages here. Also, I'm using the Gaggenau C40s, which have only 40 kilowatts, but they can carry 30 passengers. So that's about a kilowatt per passenger, so that means really good fuel efficiency. Compare that to the Ammo 15 bus. I relegated all of my shittiest buses to sending passengers to here, because this is the time I think where not only does transit time not really matter, but it may actually help. Like, see, the worse your transit time here, potentially the better the satisfaction you can get. Like, see, if I can set speed limits here, can I set speed limits? Speed limit zone. Could do this, but I would want like, you could set up one-way roads, and then have speed limits on it maybe. That hasn't worked. Fuck. No minute. Well, this is not working. I don't think I've ever done this before, so... Seems like the snow is doing it for me. Alright, fuck that. Do not want fucking signs. Yeah, fuck that. Right, let's see if they get a percentage. Right, drinking alcohol, he's going to try and do an attraction. Indoor pool, yeah, he's going to do the indoor pool, good. That might give him a chance at 400%. 250%. Okay, so he didn't even have to use this there. Also, some of them are walking back to there, which is funny. I need to get more attractions. I need to get a sight tower. I've got a zoo there. I've got a Ferris wheel. I need to get the gallery up. Yeah, so that means that my citizens are really happy and productive, and when they actually do work in a sawmill, they burn through all of the wood extremely quickly. Look at the rate of production on the boards. I've got these big storages just in case there's any lulls in productivity. You only need one worker in here to cut down a lot of wood, and then these vehicles, which I could replace. I'm trying to be really fuel efficient with these and have the shittiest ones, but if I wanted, I could replace them with the YAG logger, which would have a felled tree speed of 15 instead of 12, and it would run faster. Yeah, I could eventually upgrade them maybe, but right now I'm happy with having shittiest, most fuel efficient ones. I'm trying to consider for fuel economy as well, and go for volume of lodges. That seems like it's working alright at the moment. And there's my margins. I'm managing to make, even with quite a lot of overhead and some construction going on, but not much at the moment, I'm managing to double my imports. So I've got 10,000 rubles per month, approximately. Let's have a look at the crops. 400 tons of crops in there. And we have fields that are rotten, and that's fertilizing. Look, actual nutrient level 100%. It's pretty decent. So a lot of crops have rotted back into the ground, and that means we'll have high starting fertilities. And then we have 5 tons of bio waste there, and that turns into fertilizer, and then that automatically gets used by the tractors. I might even upgrade this farm. I don't know. See when I see bio waste accumulating faster than I can use it, that's when I would either upgrade my tractors or make a bigger farm building, because I'm using the smallest farm building with the shittiest machinery, and I'm still managing to keep up like 2,000 tons of crops per year. Decent harvest. That is actually quite decent. And I've got these little one-way road things that keep up the speed and shorten the journey a tiny bit. And I'm eroding my debt quite rapidly as well. I took on a lot of debt to build this stadium and the expo hall and set up all of this heating piping. So even with really expensive projects that use hundreds of tons of steel, like see these pipes, they used up about 200 tons of steel to get all of this down from my heating plant here. I'm still managing to stay afloat. That's the test of how good your economy is. If you can take on a big construction project like this and still manage to deal with the interest, like you can figure it out. Interest rate is 2% per year. I had 300,000 rubles of debt per year. That's about 6,000 rubles per month. That's about 500 rubles. And right now I am surplusing about 7,000 or 10,000 rubles per month. So my ability to produce a surplus is about 20 times greater than my interest payments on the principal. So I could have about 3 million rubles worth of debt right now, and I would still be able to keep up with that without falling into a debt spiral. So I'm safely profitable, but of course things can change, like the price of boards on the market could go through the floor. That's the problem with concentrating really hard into an economy, just one commodity, or the price of fuel could go way up, and that would fuck this as well because I rely heavily on fuel. So yeah, as it stands it's 14 tons of boards per ton of fuel. So that's about one trip to pay for itself, and if you actually look at one of these loops, alright, 0.16 tons of fuel. I should go to the customs. Alright, he just came out of the customs at 0.34 tons of fuel. 0.33. Yep, so we'll see what happens, how much fuel is actually used for one of these loops. And yeah, we're still managing to keep up with loading up all of these trucks with boards. This is the name of the game here, it's all about volume. I need to get a lot of boards going out around the clock, need to be making loads of boards. Also, the mixed waste that this produces is quite easy to get rid of because it has really high burnable waste percentage. There's only about 10% other waste and the bio waste is really low. Alright, 0.3 and we're loading up, we're already loading up. Remember, it was 0.34 we started out with. So I've so far spent about 3 rubles of fuel. Alright, 0.29. Remember, it was 0.34 at the start. Using that little slipway as well, that's good. 0.34 down to 0.27. 0.26, so it's about 1/12 of a ton of fuel per trip. 1/12 of 72 is 6 rubles per trip, and I'm currently exporting 65 rubles per load. So that means I'm making about 90% on this, and then there's other costs like the cost of the labour and producing the wood, but it really doesn't cost much fuel to go around picking up the wood and sending it off. Like 0.04 tons, 0.25 tons, 0.25 still, and he's already got a ton of wood. So I've got 21 of these trucks that are doing this right now. I've got 3 of these on every one. Alright, there we go, look. Already almost half full. He barely had to move and he's already half full. Another thing you have to do... Oh my god, look, he's just filling up completely, or just... Oh no, not quite. Alright, now he's driving over there. 0.25 tons still. Engine RPM is really low. Alright, he's loading, offloading, so it's 7.6 tons, and we only used up 1% of a ton of fuel. That's only 10 litres of fuel to get 8 tons of wood. So yeah, negligible, non-existent. That was like 96% efficient. So yeah, that's good. So we can basically just write that off as negligible overhead, and also the food. 14 workers, the amount of food that they need is really not much, and keeping them happy while sending them on buses to get serviced, 75% is not great. He should have had more cultural happiness than that. But yeah, that means that this entire operation is probably like 80, 85, 90% efficient, even with this journey to the customs. So you can definitely make an economy of boards work, and this means that you have one of the construction materials handled, because instead of... I handle my import of steel, bricks, prefab from customs, and then as part of that I also take boards from here and put them into here so they can be used for construction, and that frees up this so that only full truckloads ever go in and come out. And the construction office is right here that has the most of these open storage trucks, so they just go straight into the cargo station, take the boards, and this is also where the boards are dropped off. There's some repairs happening. 0.03 tons, 0.17 tons, that's about 1/5 of a ton of mechanical components. That's about 100 rubles for that repair on that water truck. not even that bad. Less than 1/10 on the bus. And yeah, we have one of the materials for construction solved with this, and you could easily just scale this up across other customs offices, make more complexes like this. I started out with just having a sawmill next to a bus stop, between two bus stops, and then going from there making storages, confining it within these roads, and that seems like it did it. If I was to do it again, I would try and find a more central position for the sawmill and have a bigger area and spread out. You don't even need to spread these out further, because look, I've got 6,000 tons of wood here. That's more than enough. That means that this sawmill has too much to work on. Even this one has 2,000 tons, 5,000 tons, 3,000 tons, so I could have crammed even more sawmills into here, and that would be fine. I could have 10 sawmills in here potentially, and it would still be fine. We're running out of wood. We need more wood, and I'm thinking about making a chemical complex somewhere around here. And I already produced the gravel, I already produced the wood, I already produced the crops. I can easily import the oil, and that would also mean I'm not producing oil with my pump jacks, which is cheesy, as I've explained. And then I could use the chemicals to treat sewage and treat hazardous waste. What else what other hazardous waste would there be? Explosives. I could make explosives as well, because I already produce my own wood, my own gravel. I would then be producing my own chemicals, and I could have that be my industries. So I would have super horrible volume on the boards, but then I would have low volume on the chemicals and then the explosives, and that would be a way to sink a surplus of labour force into an industry in a way that is more scalable. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would try and just keep this near the edge of the map and supply it with trucks, at least at first. Maybe start it with small plants like one of these small ones. Hook this up to maybe even a waste treatment plant and a sewage treatment plant immediately, and maybe even dig a sewage spill point over here somewhere, a sewage treatment over here, get a bus stop down over here somewhere maybe, and then I would have chemicals, sewage treatment, waste treatment, and it would all be with my own chemicals, and I would be able to make explosives as well, and that would speed up all of my construction and demolition jobs. Like when I had to move all of these services over to this bus stop, I had to delete stuff from this town. Like you might see spaces here, 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 here. That's because service buildings got knocked down. So I could make more demolition offices, and I could use explosives for that. I could get some helicopter construction going eventually once I've got enough of a surplus from boards. I don't think boards would let me do that yet. I think I need to have better margin. I mean, higher surpluses, because a helicopter, I think I'm too early for a helicopter still. It's only 1951. I started out in 1930. Oh, was that clothes that just got bought? Maybe that was clothes. Clothes? What was that? Fuel. It must have been a fuel purchase. That was 8 tons. 8 tons of fuel, 560 rubles. But yeah, this endless fleet of trucks delivering boards is immense. Yeah, if I was to scale this up, I would probably just try to pack more woodcutters. I have no wood over here. Yeah, there's just no fucking... I don't know how I would do this. Would I have to build this and then delete the trees around it? Like, it's all the trees have been claimed. They've all been claimed, I think. I'm tempted to try and get more woodcutting posts going, but I think to do that I would have to demolish some stuff. But this would be a good position, maybe. Like, see if I think I need to delete this. Let's try this. Woodcutting post. Let's see if I can squeeze this in somewhere around here. I want to get this bus stop serving that. Let's see if I can get this anywhere around here. And I'm going to try and get a factory connection. Oh fuck. That may work. And usually I'll want to have the roads be as tight as possible. So I would have this come out to here. And I'm trying to keep all the trees confined. I don't really need to do that though. So I could just make more trees. And in order to get this road to come out here, you have to do that. There's no other way to get the path out. Like, see if you were to have a straight road that comes off of the... I think it's bugged, but there's a workaround. That's what I'm explaining right now. Usually when you have a road coming out of a wood cutting post, it blocks this, but you can connect it to this here, and then you can drag it off. And then you can cut this piece. Alright, and I want it to go to here, so I have to... Where's this going? Alright, that's coming up to here, so I need to connect this to here. And I connect that to there. And that gives me quick... Yeah, that's fine. And then what I would do, I think... Well, I want to see how this goes. I want to see if this gives me any trees that are claimed by this. I think it won't. And if that's the case, then I've got to spam this. And this is another thing. See, before you get the research to replant trees, you really have to just go over this over and over again. And that's why I had the road there. It was just a guide. So I would just go like this and brush the entire area. So I would just do this. I would just sit here and just walk this over the entire area until it wouldn't put down any more trees. Asphalt plant is deactivated. Yeah, so... And this claims everything here. Look, 6,000 tons, 3,000 tons, 3,000 tons. This will give me another 3 woodcutting trucks, I think. And I'm going to try doing that thing with clearing all the trees around it, and then see if that will let me claim it. Like, if this will have any trees claimed for itself whatsoever. It is sticking out a little bit from the other two, so I could maybe spam some trees over here that it would have sole purchase over. Otherwise, Remove tree. I want to have this be clean. Is this clearing the snow off of my roads? No way. Alright, clean this shit up. Alright, let's see if I can find some trucks that are going slowly. Come on, where the fuck are they? I need to find some trucks that are just lumbering down the roads. Nah. It's still designated as snowed up. Alright. Oh, but that lets me have a look at this. So these are my Gaganows that are going down slowly. Look at that, it's almost at 2 hours. So I need to find one that needs an attraction or sport. Alright, I'll do this one for sport. No, culture. No. Culture 0%. Alright, let's see how many hours of fucking culture we get. Alright, they're going to the cinema. Abramovich is going to the cinema. I expect this to be more than 250%, maybe even the full 400%. Shit. Oh man, 350% is not bad. Yeah, I think you want to have that be... let's see if this one does too. I think this will be less because it only got to about 2 hours travel time. He's going to the cinema as well, or she, Vitsina. Yeah, let's have a look at that. 250? Oh wow. 350% culture. Yeah, and I've got my quarried stone depleting because they're using obsolete trucks, the Russell Bolt T40s, whereas over here we're actually managing to clear that with 3 Russell Bolts that are doing 5 tons each. And a shitty excavator. We're managing to purge enough quarried stone with the Maz 205s that we're depleting our 2,000 ton aggregate reserve. That's cool. And we've got 200 tons in here. So what I would do is I would start moving these Russell bolts onto this for export. How many exporters have I got? 4 Russell bolts exporting 5 tons of gravel 24/7 is managing to... is not even enough to keep up with this production rate on top of the primary, and I've got this handled with conveyor priority. We've got a priority, high priority going out here, low priority going through there. This one is full, these are all full, so it goes into there next and then it gets exported, and that's how you use priority conveyors to set up an export reserve that's separate from the main reserve. That works. Alright, we still need 10 boards. Man, we need boards to make wood to make boards. Just a little bit though. But yeah, this is probably gonna work. I think this will work, and this will mean that I can make even more boards, get even more trucks. Oh, look at that, look, we have 200 tons. I need more trucks. We're actually managing to get a surplus of fucking boards, so I need to get another one because we're saturating that. And it is tempting to start getting some Maz 200Vs, but the way I would do that, I think, is I would get this open out of here. I would get these open hulls. I'd put that onto there, and then move that onto this. And then I would get another open hull, and it would be an upgraded one. So I'm relegating my inferior things gradually. Alright, there we go, another Maz 200. It goes into here. And yeah, that's like a month of profit for that truck, but that's alright. that was so we could get an extra truck for exports. Can queue these trucks up a little bit harder, have greater export capacity. Also, just increasing the size of your fleet, your vehicle fleet, is a good idea. If you can plausibly get more useful throughput somewhere for more profit, you should do it, even if there's a chance it's not worth it, because it means you have more vehicles, and if you have too many vehicles you can always find more jobs for them. Like I could set up another shitty logging industry somewhere else and move some of these trucks over to that. Even just this, for example, like having whenever new vehicles come in, it usually is an opportunity to get your throughputs improved and increase your exports again. I still need a better excavator for this. I'll get access to better excavators not long. It's already 1950, we're into the post-World War II where we start getting rapid improvements in vehicles, so this vehicle with its 21 speed for making stone can get replaced. These trucks that are only 5 tons can get replaced with 6-ton trucks that have better acceleration in and out. That'll increase my quarried stone production. I've already basically optimised this. I've got 5 MAVs, which is just about keeping this going 24/7. I've got the amount of workers here quite good as well. Like we're keeping 5 out of 5 a decent amount of the time. I have a direct gravel bus line using some decent buses. 6 workers. There we go, that brings us up to 5 again. 88%. See, look, we're keeping a decent worker number here. And we're making a decent amount of quarried stone. Yeah, I'm thinking I need to move one of these off. So it's gonna be him. He is gonna get unloaded, go here, and then it's gonna be from there to customs. And then I'm gonna buy another dumper. It's gonna be an upgraded one this time though. And then that can go to there. Alright, so that's me increased my quarried stone production and my exports. Both ends are improved because this one's saturated and is accumulating in here. That's giving me 30 rubles per trip and it's only using up like 0.19 tons, right? And then we're already at the customs. So this is something you can just use with the shittest trucks. And look at that, we've got almost every terminal used up. 0.18. Low fuel, low maximum speed, low engine RPM, 0.18. 0.17, so 1/50th of a ton. That's only about 1 ruble. So we're making 30 rubles per ruble spent on fuel. And there's a tiny amount of electricity to run this conveyor system. But that's fine. Let's have a look, have we got our MAV in here? And I've got the intersection set up to... Yeah, all of my profit is going towards vehicles right now, but that is just for the long term. That's going to improve my economy marginally. Yep. Oh shit, I need another one. Yeah. He was in the fucking depot there, idiot. He's got to get out there and get to work. And then every time you buy a vehicle you have to set the repair thresholds. That snowplow needs to get fixed. We've almost got this done. We have a service crane here. These service cranes are absolutely essential in early game. You need to get loads of these. This one's 20 years old and I've maintained it. You need to set the wear and tear for cranes at 10%. Absolutely. Every time. 176 tons of wood in the forest. Alright, this is what I need to do now then. Can I not claim any wood? God damn it. This has only claimed that much wood. Fuck. Well, that's bad. I need more wood claimed here. I need at least 2,000 or 3,000 tons, I think, for this to make sense. 179 tons. I think if I was to load game, I would be able to spam this here, because I've noticed that whenever you do some construction... Oh wait, 184 tons. That's good news. 188 tons. I think this one has a claim on all of this over here. 4,700, or 108 tons, this works. Okay, that worked, so I can now set that and get some more of these shitty loggers to go. Alright, 1, 2, 3, only 10,000 rubles. That is absolutely worth it. And I need to set the distribution of fuel in here as well, and that's it, that's this setup. In terms of the bins, fuck. We're too far away from that. That means I'm gonna have to set... Fuck. Wait a minute, I could bullshit this. Nah, it's too far away. Shit. Getting a bin here is going to be annoying. I don't think you even really need one though. Like this bin, construction waste is not getting separated, bio waste is not getting separated. I don't think you really need bins for these, but if I was to have separation enabled, I think I would accumulate bio waste in here. I don't think the construction waste is separatable. I think it's one of the industries that has some sort of an unavoidable mixing that happens. Oh, look at that, we have wood already. Oh yeah, this amount of wood is going up too. So this is working. And we should have fuel getting delivered, and that should allow... Oh wait, we are actually producing enough boards here, wait. Missing wood though, still. But this is a good demo. I've showed another woodcutting post getting established, how it would work, and if I absolutely have to, I can put down trees over here. I don't want to have to do that, I like how neat this is, but I'm hoping that these all share responsibility for all these fucking logs. $30 tons. 200 tons of wood lying around is pretty decent. And yeah, I think if I did load the game, I'd be able to put down more trees. It's really strange how that works. It's really obvious though when you have a crash, or you start playing again after a new day, a new session, and then you try and put down trees, and suddenly you can just spam trees really hard. Like, look how dense these trees are. I couldn't do this until after I'd loaded the game once or twice. Alright, we're picking up all of the wood, that's good. And once again, got to set repair percentages. 10% has been maintained nicely. We're maintaining everything. We're probably going to have to do some imports of mechanical components soon at this rate. Alright, do we have our first shipments of wood coming in? I think we should. Look at that, 200 tons of boards ready to go. We're producing boards so fast. I want to see some wood accumulating in these again. I had 1,000 tons of wood in one of these at one point. Alright, here we go. Oh shit, I need to make sure I can connect this. Yep, there we go. That'll allow maintenance and fire putting out fires. And that increases our capacity to produce boards that a little bit more. Oh, there we go, look, we're getting some wood accumulating. Yep, we're managing to produce enough wood now again. And that's going to be important for whenever I get a chemical industry set up. I want to have a little bit of a surplus of wood so I can sustain chemical production. So I'm going to have crops handled, gravel handled, wood handled, water handled. I think I want to start with a small chemical plant. I might need to get more housing set up to do that. Still have a little bit of housing available. I've got the first prefabs down, 87% prefabs. Unable to enjoy culture should never be happening. 82.8 life expectancy is really not bad. Should always have access to culture and sport. That should never be happening. Unable to enjoy culture, 18. Unable to enjoy sport, 7. We shouldn't have that. Yeah, I think they went in there and they couldn't get sport because of the weather. I'll get that theatre down. And then I think I might even be able to delete this cinema. I think theatres and cinemas are the same thing. Museums. I've already got the expo hall, that's the best one. You don't want any other museum ever in the whole game. The gallery of art is next, I need to get that down. I've got a zoo, but no one's using it. And I need to get the sport hall, just in case the winter capacity of the indoor pool isn't great. Oh, look at that attraction, that can go up, that should usually be able to go up to 400%. And that keeps them really happy, 250%, alright. 84% happy is really good though, that's really nice. Oh man, we're actually doing this with the boards. Alright, let's have a look at this now. Still drawing down the quarried stone, god damn it. I need to replace these, they're going to be bottlenecking me. I need to get rid of these dumpers and just get 3 mavs. That'll do. I need to maximise the amount of time this excavator spends actually doing this. And I've got the gas station right there as well. It's cheaper than having a vehicle. A gas station costs, to make a gas station, it's about 1 ton of steel. 1 ton of steel, and then 6 tons of bricks, that's about 100. So about 200 in steel, 100 in bricks, 300, call it 350, 400. Alright, so a gas station's about 350, 400 rubles, whereas a truck, a MAV, another MAV is 4,800 rubles. Gas stations are really cheap, really cheap. You want to just, like, you can have how many vehicles, how many gas stations per truck? It's like 10 or something. You should have gas stations everywhere along routes that are frequented. I should probably have a gas station right here. I've got one here. I would probably want one just right here. A gas station. I should have probably done this ages ago, but let's see if I can fit this nicely. I usually try and get it lined up with the grid with F1. Yeah, that'll do actually. And that road is fine as well, so that can go down right there. Gas stations should be everywhere, they're so cheap. I've got one here. I've got one here. I've got one there. I've got fire stations everywhere as well. Oh man, I'm running out of money again. Yeah, I'm spending so much on vehicles. God damn it. and I'm doing construction projects. 158 tons to get. I think that was a success. Getting that other sawmill down, I think this will, like, even after a loads game and spam trees, I think this will get even better. I just can't put down any more trees right now. I should be able to cram trees all around that and it would claim them, and that would help a lot. But we do have 150 tons of wood there, that's decent. That's worth, how much rubles? About 500, 600 rubles. So, over time, this wood cutting post will have been worth it. Let's take a look at my board profits, if they've gone up much. 1.46 million rubles. This month, last month, this year, last year, 18,000 tons of boards. That is about 1,500 trips per year. 100,000 rubles. Last year I imported only 40 tons of steel. Yeah, that'll do for this. Board economy working.